What's up, Maniacs? My name is Mex. I'm a wrestling fan, a wrestling enthusiast, a WrestleManiac, if you will. And today we are talking Monday Night Raw. It was night 2 of the draft, the final night of the draft, and we had a lot of movement, more movement than I expected, more movement than we had on SmackDown. So to kind of get through everything, I'm going to start with the draft and then I'm going to talk about the actual show. So stay tuned. Right here at WrestleManiac UK, I discuss everything that is WWE and AEW. So if this sounds like the place for you, make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I drop a new video. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into the review. So like I said, it was night 2 of the draft, and like I did in the SmackDown review this past week, I'm gonna just talk about the movement. Not gonna talk about those that kind of stayed on the brands they were on, just those that have moved across. So let's go. We had The Fiend, that was the first pick. The Fiend will now be moving to Raw. We had the Street Profits move over to SmackDown, and they had their little exchange with New Day backstage, swapping over the tag team titles. So the Street Profits are now the SmackDown tag team champions, and the New Day are now the Raw tag team champions. Braun Strowman will be moving from SmackDown to Raw. Matt Riddle will be moving from SmackDown to Raw. Kevin Owens will be moving from Raw to SmackDown. And then we had Jeff Hardy also move from SmackDown to Raw. So a lot of kind of the mid-card level, upper mid-card level guys having some movement there. Probably going to see some new matchups, which is also good. Alexa Bliss, it was only a matter of time. They moved her from SmackDown to Raw. I guess that's to continue her storyline right now with The Fiend. And then we had Elias make a return, and Elias has moved from SmackDown to Raw. Lacey Evans has also moved from SmackDown to Raw, and Sheamus has also moved from SmackDown to Raw. Nikki Cross has moved from SmackDown to Raw, and Ziggler and Robert Roode have moved from Raw over to SmackDown. So a new tag team on SmackDown now. Apollo Crews has moved back to SmackDown from Raw. He only moved over to Raw earlier this year, so he had a little bit of a short stint on Raw, maybe about 6 months or so, and he's moved back to SmackDown. Dabba-Kato has been signed by Raw. I guess he was on NXT before, obviously a member of Raw Underground. He has been moved permanently to Raw, so I'll be looking forward to seeing him on TV. And I believe Aleister Black has been moved from Raw over to SmackDown. So those are some of the main movement that was announced during the show. I know there's been some other movement through Raw Talk and Smack Talk, I believe. Natalya, I believe, has been moved from Raw to SmackDown. I don't know all of them just yet. So those are some of the main movers within the show. And I guess it's going to bring a lot of new matchups and just some new programming on the TV show, so we look forward to those. So Raw started with Randy Orton in the middle of the ring, and he was basically calling out Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre came out and said, look, like I said to you before, between now and Hell in a Cell, anytime I see you, it's on, we're fighting. And they didn't mince their words. These guys literally had a running theme throughout the show, basically, of them fighting throughout. So literally every time they saw each other, they had a scrap. I can't lie, a little bit of interest has been lost in this feud. It just feels like it's lasting a bit too long now. Obviously, they're going to have a Hell in a Cell, which should definitely be the culmination of everything. You know, Randy Orton's lost several times in this feud already, but I guess we'll wait till the Hell in a Cell, see how that goes, see who walks out as champion, and I guess we'll see where we go from there. We had a no disqualification match. Kevin Owens took on Aleister Black, and this was a pretty decent match with some really scary but really well put together spots by both guys. We saw a spot where Aleister Black threw Kevin Owens from the barricade onto the announcer's table. Another spot where Aleister Black delivered a Meteora from the top rope onto Kevin Owens, who then landed on a bunch of chairs. It was absolutely horrific, that particular one. But I guess the spot that got the win, Kevin Owens delivered a stunner to Aleister Black, picked him up in a powerbomb position and powerbombed him through a table that was set up on the ring, pinned him 1, 2, 3, and Kevin Owens got the win here. I think Kevin Owens has beaten Aleister Black maybe a few times in this feud now, and now both men have moved over to SmackDown. You can only assume the feud is going to continue, which is neither here or there. Like, I don't particularly care, but I really want these guys to shine, and hopefully that move to SmackDown will bring them some new matchups and some good stories. We had a segment of Miz TV where he invited Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose out to the show. I guess he was kind of telling Mandy Rose, look at the career move I helped you get, moving over to Raw, finding Dana Brooke, new tag team partner, you guys are on a bit of a streak here. But that was soon interrupted by Lana and Natalya saying that, you know, these guys shouldn't be getting airtime, we should be getting airtime. Those four ladies then had a scrap. The show cut and came back with John Morrison now being the guest, and him and Miz were having a bit of a chin wag, but that didn't last very long because Lars Sullivan interrupted them and he came into the ring. Last week on SmackDown, he got Miz This week, he got John Morrison, absolutely destroyed John Morrison in the ring, and Miz just looked on. Interesting to see Lars Sullivan be put back on TV. You know, we saw him back on WWE TV last week, Friday, and over the weekend, more stories about Lars Sullivan came out. Nothing positive, just more Lars Sullivan type stories. And it was as if WWE just wanted to ignore it sort of thing and just put him back on TV on Monday. So I guess he's good now. He's officially on SmackDown like we said. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Lars Sullivan going forward. We had a segment where Seth Rollins came out to kind of say his goodbyes. He's no longer the Monday Night Messiah, but the SmackDown Savior, and will be moving over to SmackDown. And he was basically saying, look, there's going to be no leader here now that I'm gone. But Jeff Hardy came out, the newest member of Raw, and said, listen, I can take over the reins. Rollins basically batted him off and said, look, whatever, you can't do nothing. Rollins looked like he was leaving the arena when AJ Styles came out. AJ Styles took a little bit of a jab at Rollins as well, and then Jeff Hardy attacked both men, which led to a triple threat match. Very excited once this one was announced to see some of these guys. You know, these guys are all from the same school, really good wrestlers, top echelon in what they do, and it was a very good match. Unfortunately, we did not get a finish. Elias interrupted, hit Jeff Hardy over the back with the guitar. Elias later said backstage he's still holding on to Jeff Hardy knocking him down in the car. If you remember that Jeff Hardy drunk angle knocking him over, even though it wasn't Jeff Hardy, Elias is blaming Jeff Hardy still. So Elias is back on TV as well, and he was drafted to Raw. So I guess Jeff Hardy and Elias are going to get into a little storyline on Raw now. Following their Miz TV altercation, we had Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke take on Lana and Natalya, and this was pretty much going the same way a lot of their matches have been going in recent weeks. However, I will say Lana did look pretty good in some places. However, it ended with a pump knee strike from Mandy Rose to Lana, and then a senton from Dana Brooke to pin Lana. After the match, Lana looked like she was crying. Natalya came into the ring, didn't really comfort her so-called friend, told her, you know, you should be ashamed of yourself, you're lame and all of this kind of stuff. Natalya said, I can't deal with this anymore, and absolutely just left Lana where she was and walked off backstage. Guys, before we get into the rest of the review, if you're enjoying today's show, please remember to smash the like button, give us a thumbs up. It does loads for the channel, and we thoroughly appreciate it right here at WrestleManiac UK. So if you haven't already, smash that like button. Next up, we had a match between Angel Garza and Andrade. We had Zelina Vega on commentary, and I guess these two were just bringing to an end the feud that they have been having in recent weeks. I know they've been tag team partners, but I guess they have been butting heads as well. I was surprised to see Angel Garza here because obviously he hurt himself, which looked pretty bad a couple of weeks ago on Raw. He had a big bandage on his leg, but he was able to compete, and he actually got the win against Andrade here. Throughout the match, Zelina was kind of selling her disdain for both men. She just can't stand them, their egos and everything. But after Andrade lost, she did still show a bit of compassion, Andrade obviously being her original client, as she got into the ring to almost comfort him. You know, she still can't help but care about someone she probably spent so much time with, her #1 business associate. But putting herself in the ring only put her in the way of what was to come next. All the lights and stuff started to go out, and it was The Fiend, obviously making himself felt on Monday Night Raw now. And as the lights came back on, the red light as we know it, they turned over, they looked towards one of the corners of the ring, and it was actually Alexa Bliss bending over, doing that Fiend pose in the corner. And as these two were looking at Alexa Bliss, the camera panned round to behind them, and the Fiend was behind them. The Fiend grabbed Andrade, Alexa Bliss grabbed Zelina Vega, set up both for the Sister Abigails, and we had double Sister Abigails in the ring. Guys, I'm very much looking forward. If we're gonna get The Fiend and Alexa Bliss versus Zelina Vega and Andrade, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be really good, and I'm really enjoying the fact that Alexa Bliss and The Fiend are now kind of in sync with each other. I don't know what their relationship is yet. I don't know what they call each other, if it's just a union, if it's just mayhem running together, who knows. But I really did enjoy the visual of those double Sister Abigails, and I think it's only good things to come now for The Fiend and Alexa Bliss on Raw. So after we had the tag belt exchange backstage between Street Profits and New Day, Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler actually challenged New Day to those titles, and New Day, not one to run from a challenge, accepted the challenge. So on the night we got Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler versus the New Day, and this was a pretty good match. Robert Roode looked very good for the majority of the match. He's looking like he's back to pace. Again, I mentioned this in my SmackDown review, Xavier Woods looked like he hasn't missed a step. If anything, Xavier Woods looks better. You know, he looks stronger, he looks more fit, he looks like he's doing moves that weren't in his repertoire before, and it may just be a case of someone that you've missed coming back, but Xavier Woods is looking very, very sharp, I have to say. In the end, despite a pretty good tag team match, New Day retained with a midnight hour. Like I said earlier, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode have been moved over to SmackDown. So a couple new challenges over on SmackDown, but I think in recent weeks we have all been calling for it. Why don't they just merge the two tag divisions? There's just not enough going on in the tag division to have two belts on two shows. They should just really merge it. What do you guys think? Put all your opinions on the tag team division down below in the comments. Next up, we had Ricochet confront the Hurt Business, and he basically said to them, look, Apollo Crews may or may not be going to SmackDown. Cedric Alexander has joined you guys in the Hurt Business. He never mentioned Mustafa Ali joining Retribution, and now that I think about it, Retribution weren't even on the show. But yeah, he mentioned that Cedric's gone, Apollo Crews may leave as well, and that he may be all alone now on Raw. So he told the Hurt Business, look, I'll have a match with any one of you. If I win, you guys leave me alone forever. If I lose, I will actually join you in the Hurt Business. And Hurt Business thought this was a pretty good proposition, and they sent out Cedric Alexander to fight Ricochet. Cedric Alexander looked extremely dominant in a lot of places in this match. Ricochet contested a bit more as the match went on, but Cedric Alexander looked like the force, and obviously with the Hurt Business on the outside, he had an insurance policy if anything was to go wrong. As the match went on, I think Ricochet was in a submission hold, and as he broke free, he pushed Cedric Alexander off him, who inadvertently bumped into the referee, and the referee was temporarily down. Everyone kind of looked around at each other thinking, oh, what's going on here? What are we going to do now? MVP, as quick as a fox, went and grabbed a steel chair. And as he went to slide the steel chair into the ring, Ricochet grabbed it before it got to Cedric Alexander. Now everyone was shook thinking, oh, what's Ricochet going to do with the chair? Ricochet, he's a face, not really one to start hitting people with the chairs, but he thought smarter. And as the referee was getting up and he knew time was running out, Ricochet pulled the old Eddie Guerrero, hit the canvas with the chair. Obviously there was a big sound, threw the chair at Cedric Alexander, and Ricochet went down like he'd been struck with the chair. Sold it very well. The referee said, Ricochet's down, you're holding the chair. Referee called the bell. Ricochet won the match. So Ricochet pulled a fast one over the Hurt Business, over the referee, and as per the stipulation of this match, Ricochet should now be left alone completely by the Hurt Business. But I guess we'll wait and see if that comes to fruition. Last on the show, we had the dual brand Women's Battle Royal, and the winner of this match was going to take on Asuka next week for the Raw Women's Championship. We got a spot of Nia Jax actually saving Shayna Baszler from being eliminated, but right after, everybody turned their attention to eliminate Nia Jax, and Shayna Baszler actually helped them throw Nia Jax over the top rope. So those two continue to deliver entertaining segments within their joint tag team reign. We don't know how much longer that's gonna last, but they have been really good together, I think. And then we were down to the final two, which were Natalya and Lacey Evans, or who we thought were the final two. Royal Rumbles and Battle Royals are always synonymous with the person that thinks they win, doesn't actually win, and there's still someone left. Natalya finally knocked Lacey Evans off the apron and thought she had won the match until Lana came back into the ring. Obviously these two had split earlier on in the show, and Lana kicked Natalya off the apron. So Lana is the actual winner of the Battle Royal. She will face Asuka next week on Raw for the Raw Women's Championship. There is surely only going to be one winner, and her name is not Lana. It broke before the show that Eva Marie is going to make a return to Raw, so I expected to kind of see Eva Marie in this Battle Royal. It never happened, she wasn't there, but maybe she's due to turn up next week, who knows. And just as the Women's Battle Royal was finishing, we got another segment of Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton chasing each other furiously around the ring area, fighting. Eventually they were split by officials and referees, and yeah, this is looking like it should be a bloodbath come Hell in a Cell. You can never tell. I still have my money on Randy Orton picking up the WWE Championship here, because he can't lose 3 times to Drew McIntyre, surely not. But I guess we will wait and see. So guys, that is my Raw review. I hope you enjoyed it. This was a pretty decent Raw, nothing special. I guess the draft is concluded now, and I think the problem with the draft always being on shows is that it kind of stops storylines and we don't get much story. We just get kind of individual matches that don't mean much. But now with both brands have drafted all of their stars for I guess the next few months anyway, we can now see stories kind of resume here. Hell in a Cell is a couple weeks away, and it'll be interesting to see if we get any new feuds building up towards Hell in a Cell in the next few weeks. Guys, if you enjoyed today's review, please remember to smash the like button, and if you're new here, welcome. Please subscribe to the channel and remember to hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I drop a new video. WrestleManiac UK signing out, and I'll see you soon.